Up there. There we go. That's the one we want. Add to stream. Boom, bada bing. All right. There we go. Got it going finally. All right. Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode, this live episode of the Mobility Tech and Connectivity Show. This is our live monthly webcast to record for the AutoConverse podcast, which focuses on people and ideas and technology that influence how we are connected and the way we get around. I am Ryan Girardi. Thank you for joining us. Today's Wednesday, April the 27th, and I'm going to try to reposition here. I am in a whole new working environment today and a little bit unprepared, unfortunately, but we're going to make this work as best as we can. Today on the show, big news, as probably all of us know, Elon Musk has purchased Twitter. It got approved by the board. We're going to look at that. Ford has rushed out its launch of the new F-150 Lightning truck. That's their new all EV truck. And also we have a special guest today, author Alan Taylor, author of the book Cryptosocial, which is how cryptocurrency is influencing social media. All this is coming up in a little bit. A lot of big headlines today we're going to go through, so sit back, stay tuned, and hang tight. We'll be back in just a moment. Hey, we got a good show lined up for you today.
Oh, well, I'm a Game of Thrones nut, so that's my jam.
The robots are listening. The robots are listening.
All right, you got to forgive me. I am using a old school mouse for the first time in many, many years since I can remember. But we're going to make this work. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors for today, Smart Pixel by M1 Data Analytics. Smart Pixel turns your anonymous website visitors into fully identified first-party consumer data. Let me switch my view here for you guys. Make that better. There we go. All right. So when this match and identification takes place, Smart Pixel can return up to 300 attributes on the consumer. So you'll get name and postal address, email, gender, date of birth. That's not terribly uncommon, but you'll also get more specific details like home ownership, vehicle ownership, political party affiliation, children in the household, so things like that. And Smart Pixel quickly provides a tremendous opportunity for increased ROI on your marketing dollars as your business can now identify and then engage with over 95% of visitors that were previously anonymous. Real-time information about your website visitors, easy to install and fully GDPR and CCPA compliant. Find out more by going to autoconverse.com/pixel. Now, back to some of today's headlines. Let's see if I can do this properly today. All right. So Uber reaches a deal to list all New York City taxis on its app. And you know what? Before I really dive into the news, I wanted to just set the stage because we're going to talk about Elon Musk and him buying Twitter a little bit. I mentioned we have author Alan Taylor, author of the book Cryptosocial Media, which we're going to talk about and look at a list of over 80 crypto social media platforms and protocols as well. But let me get into here. We'll do a couple news items for you. All right, here we go. So as I was starting to say, Uber's becoming friends with a former foe. The company has reached an agreement to list all New York City taxis on its app. And the New York City Alliance is its first citywide partnership in the U.S. Now, New York, which is one of Uber's most lucrative markets, has been a battlefield for the company and the city's iconic yellow taxis for years, really since Uber got on the road. Passengers will be able to pay roughly the same fare for taxi rides as for UberX rides. and Uber drivers in New York City will receive a minimum time and distance set by the TLC. Uber said its drivers typically earn more than that rate, and cab drivers who agree to take Uber passengers will be paid in the same way. So that's a pretty big deal, and kind of gives it I guess, shed some light onto the evolution of ride sharing and oh, look at this. I got to bring this back here too. Sorry about that, guys. Bring that right here. All right. So next on the list, check this out. Sky Mavis reported that the Ronin network, which supports its Axie Infinity game, has been hacked, and thieves stole more than 173,000 Ethereum cryptocurrency. It's worth almost $595 million. I don't know if you're hearing that echo or that feedback loop. Again, I'm in new controls today, so I'm having a few technical issues, but hopefully they're not too disruptive. So over $595 million was stolen, $25.5 million in US dollars. And so let me back that up. $595 million worth in Ethereum, $25.5 million in US dollars. That's $620 million total. The Ronin bridge and Katana DEX enabling transactions have been halted. And for now, that means players who have funds stored in the network cannot access their money right now, and the stolen funds only represent a portion of the overall holdings of Sky Mavis and its Axie decentralized autonomous organization. So, fraud, scandals, hacking, we're seeing like this stuff just really blow up. And, when we talk about cryptocurrency, it's such a new space and new technology, and hackers are exploiting that. And this is a lot of money. So pretty big deal. I'm not personally much of a gamer myself, but it is related to cybersecurity and cryptocurrency. And, there's a lot to think about here. And speaking of cryptocurrency, President Biden has just put an executive order over the last couple of weeks, calling on the government to examine the risks and benefits of cryptocurrencies. So speaking of risks, it's a pretty big risk when a network like Sky Mavis or the Ronin network gets hacked like that. So Biden's measure focuses on 6 key areas: consumer protection, financial stability, illicit activity, competitiveness within the U.S., and financial inclusion and responsible innovation. The administration also wants to explore a digital version of the dollar. Boy, this feedback is killing me. I'm going to put my hand here and see if that helps. So as we just reported, there's been countless stories of investors falling for crypto scams, losing huge sums of money through cyber attacks on exchanges. And the administration is calling on the Treasury to assess and develop policy recommendations on cryptocurrency. Also wants regulators to ensure sufficient oversight and safeguard against any systematic financial risks posed by digital assets. Can I close that? Yeah, look at that. And into some kind of where the fusion of blockchain and automotive, Hyundai is collaborating with Metacongs to launch community NFTs. They announced it was diving into the community NFTs market. That's a non-fungible token on a blockchain. The firm is collaborating with Metacongs, and the announcement makes Hyundai the first automobile company to enter the community-based market. The firm also announced the launch of its channels on Twitter and Discord, and the pending launch of its website through these channels. I should say that but differently. The pending launch of its website. Now, through these channels, the company plans to maintain communication with community members even as it manages the value of its NFTs. And back to the Biden administration, kind of moving on from crypto here, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said it was raising fuel economy requirements, reversing a rollback by former President Trump in 2020. The new standards will increase fuel efficiency requirements by 8% annually for model years 2024 and 2025, and 10% annually for model year 2026. The stricter vehicle emissions requirements are parallel to the NHTSA rules, but they don't exactly match. Under its vehicle emissions rule, the EPA estimates model year 2026 vehicles would see an average of 40 miles per gallon. And who can argue with that, considering the extreme rising price of or cost of gasoline? Now, of course, fuel efficiency is great. EVs are great in theory, but as long as we have a way to charge them. And to help with that, Volvo Cars and Starbucks are partnering on a pilot program to research the usage and potential scalability of EV chargers at the coffee giants' stores nationwide. So Volvo will install as many as 60 chargers at up to 15 Starbucks locations along a 1,350-mile route from Denver to Seattle. Volvo and Starbucks will assess usage by EV owners to determine potential expansion of the program. Charging infrastructure is viewed as a major hurdle to EV adoption, as I was just saying, prompting automotive and charging companies to launch partnerships to study use cases and install chargers. And finally, on the EV electric vehicle front, Lightning eMotors joins with GM to electrify medium-duty trucks. Commercial vehicle. So Lightning eMotors is a commercial vehicle manufacturer, and they became the first GM specialty vehicle manufacturer to provide fully electric Class 3 through Class 6 commercial vehicles. And under the new agreement, Lightning eMotors will electrify popular medium-duty truck platforms for applications. So that would be things like school buses, shuttle buses, delivery trucks, work trucks, things like that. Lightning will electrify the platforms at its manufacturing campus in Loveland, Colorado, and ship the completed chassis to commercial vehicle manufacturers. So, I pick these guys. I scour the web probably a good hour and a half or so most days. I catalog all this information in Slack. I make that available to our premium members. And then when I get out to do the show every month and the podcast every week, I pick through a handful of these latest developments and bring them up on screen. And I apologize because I had that, but wasn't sharing that. I got to remember to do that. I should probably look into maybe buying or hiring a producer so I can focus on the show. Might be good as well. So that's it for headlines. I want to talk a little bit about Musk buying Twitter. And then I'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll have author Alan Taylor join us to talk about his new book, Cryptosocial. But, there comes a point in every billionaire's life, I can relate, when we set out to own a mass communications platform. So for Jeff Bezos of Amazon, that came back in 2013 when he purchased the Washington Post. So for Elon Musk, that came on Monday. So after initially balking at Musk's offer that he submitted 2 weeks ago, Twitter's board of directors did agree to accept his bid to take the company private for $44 billion in cash. And when the transaction closes, Twitter will become a private entity solely owned by Musk, who is the richest person in the world. However, after day two of the announcement, stocks of Twitter did plunge, and Musk's value of stock ownership went down $21 billion, which happens to be equivalent to what he's on the hook for paying. It's a pretty interesting development. I wish I had my phone. To access this. Sorry, guys. I apologize. This is tricky. Because I had some additional notes on that. There's there's no guarantee this will go through. The stockholders could reject it. Things could happen. It's not supposed to close until October. So a lot could unravel in that time, and there are some penalties either way. So there are some contingencies involved. Now Musk is coming at this from a freedom of speech angle. He says free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. checking the monitor there. And Twitter, as he calls it, is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated. Musk also wants to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithms open source. That's key to increase trust and defeating spam bots and authenticating all humans. Twitter, he says, has tremendous potential, and he looks forward to working with the company and the users to unlock it. Now, some might suggest that Musk has maybe a larger plan at play. Here's an article. I'm linking to this from AutoConverse. You can find this link in the article. And in this case, the author, Ranjan Roy, lays out some possibilities for what Musk might be up to. So I'm going to just skim through these, but I like what he pointed out, which is that I think there's a chart down here, right? Yeah, look at this. See these spikes right here? These are the quantity of tweets that Elon Musk sent out for that month. So it might be hard to see here. This is February 2013. Let's see, February, April, May 13. And you can see a spike there. See all these spikes here? And what Musk was able to determine that was when he focuses on Twitter, and the spikes are just the quantity of tweets that he does. When he focuses on Twitter and really flexes that muscle, his stock value goes up. So for Musk personally, with his personal brand, with his businesses, Tesla and SpaceX, mostly Tesla, he's also a big fan of Dogecoin. He has a tremendous amount of influence. He's not the only one. There's just some data showing that. So let's look at some of these theories here. Musk recognizes his Twitter account and unfettered access are vital to his current and future business. He makes money from tweeting. Maybe he wants to neuter the SEC, as the author says here. He does a great dive into Musk's pay package with Twitter, and what he argues is that Musk has capped out his pay package potential, and Tesla's not really likely to exponentially grow like it has over the past few years when it was a bit volatile just a few years ago. And so Musk could be looking ahead for ways to expand on his wealth and his compensation packages as well, because that's nearing completion. So I would check out reading this. There's probably multiple factors at play, and when Alan comes on, we will get a chance to talk about a few of these things as well. And finally, before I transition, I wanted to just did mention that because we've brought it up over the past few months, Ford's new EV truck, the F-150 Lightning, did launch yesterday, and it's a major step in the company's move towards electrification, which is hoping to become more of a leader in the electric truck market by producing its first mainstream EV truck. Now there's global issues that are making it difficult to secure parts and really get them out, but Ford has over 200,000 reservations for the F-150. So as we see fuel prices hike, obviously the demand for EVs continues to go up. All right, so enough of me. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll have author Alan Taylor. We will be talking about his new book, Cryptosocial. We'll be right back.
Hey Dad, are you still looking for a car? Did you know that when you click on car ads, dealers pay for every click? But shouldn't you get paid? After all, you're the one clicking. That's why I use AskOtto. With AskOtto, you build rewards as you shop. Plus, AskOtto recommends exclusive offers based on your needs. You can ask questions on cars you like and still protect your personal information. You can even set your price. Who knew car shopping could be so easy and rewarding? AskOtto, fast, fun, and rewarding car shopping.
Hello, Mr. Taylor. Welcome to the MTC show.
Hello, Ryan. Thank you.
A little bit of a rough start. I got technology to worry about. And as I mentioned, folks, I'm dealing with a lot of new equipment today, and I didn't give enough prep time. But I think we're making it work. I'm here. Alan's here. We can both see each other. Is that feedback loop Are you hearing that too?
Yeah, I do hear it, but I think you have a great looking studio there from what I can see. So I'm enjoying the show.
Cool. This is a sound recording studio that you can book out here in my hometown of Naperville, Illinois. They shut it down during the pandemic, and I kind of got out of habit of being here, and I'm trying to rebuild that habit. But like anything, you got a lot of technology to equipment to transfer. Even though this room is very well equipped, I'm using one of the internal mics here. But I think we're making it work. So welcome to the show. Hey, before we really get focused on your book, I read off some of those headlines from today, including Musk buying Twitter. Of all the things I read, which of those interest you the most?
Yeah, I think the EV stuff was really interesting. The Volvo partnership and the Ford partnership with what eLightning, is that the name of the company? Those are,
eMotors, Lightning eMotors.
yeah, Lightning eMotors. Yeah, those are interesting developments. I think there's a lot of room for growth there with the EV market, and I'm actually quite impressed with the way Elon Musk has grown that industry almost single-handedly. I go to places and I see these Tesla chargers all over the place, and a few years ago you didn't see that. So he pretty much built that industry, but there's room for competition, and I'm glad to see other companies jumping in there and giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, he got a lot of flack just as early as 3 or 4 years ago, that the company might not make it. It might go belly up. It was private, went public. I can't remember if it's private or public anymore. It seems like it's gone back and forth so many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, companies are just chomping at the bit. The potential of the EV market, it's like we're just breaking the seal here.
Absolutely.
Tesla produced just shy of 1 million cars last year worldwide. I think Ford sells, I don't know, something like, 4 or 5 million F-150s alone every year.
Yeah.
So, if that doesn't give some potential, I don't like when I see like the Ford CEO kind of antagonize Musk of bragging about their truck, because the Lightning's a great truck. The F-150, it's a great truck. They say you could power your home with that truck,
Yeah.
but to get cocky and be like, hey, Musk, this is what a real truck looks like. It's just, it's like, just focus on your product and make your product good. This is kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're putting together a good product, the product should speak for itself.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on the whole acquisition of Twitter? Are you a big Twitter user yourself?
Yeah, I used to be more into Twitter, but just in the last 6 months, I have what I did was I had an old account that I had used a while back when I was very active, but a lot of my followers were dead followers, and so they weren't real good followers. So what I did was I opened up a new account and redirected anybody still paying attention to my new account. So it looks like I'm a new Twitter user, but actually I've been on it quite a few years, and I've just only recently reinvigorated my Twitter strategy. And so I'm active on it, but it looks like I'm a new user when in fact I've been there for quite a few years.
And do you use it as a broadcast? Do you use it for relationships? What's your use of the platform?
Yeah, for me, what I do, I post things that are interesting to me related to two niches: cryptocurrency and Christianity. And so most of it's probably more heavily weighted toward cryptocurrency, but also I'm an author in the Christian genre. So I publish things that are interesting to me, along with some things that I'm doing related to those two areas as well.
Okay. Well, I personally got off Twitter. I didn't delete my accounts, but I stopped using them almost 2 years ago. I'd say a little over a year and a half ago. Haven't missed it in the slightest. I really haven't, because I think Twitter has become definitely a more of a mouthpiece for big names, big celebrities,
Yeah.
big entities. I think for um, I think for the average Joe, it's good for exchanging messages in public with people and relationship building. But as a business tool, as a marketing tool, it's a challenging thing. But more importantly than as a marketing tool, you have the algorithms, you have content moderation, but some would argue over censoring, over
Yeah.
censorship. What's your thoughts on Musk's philosophy about making it more transparent and opening up? Do you condone that? Do you support that kind of approach?
Well, I'm certainly for free speech. I don't think anybody would say, well, I don't want free speech, even though they might be against free speech. Very few people are going to say, no, we need less free speech. So I'm for free speech. The question for me is, how serious is Elon Musk about that narrative? Is he really for free speech, or is there something else driving him toward wanting to own Twitter? And I think Rajan Roy, that article brings up some very interesting points, and I agree with some of them. Usually, when someone becomes famous or influential in some way, they pivot from being single-mindedly focused on whatever train got them there, and they want to diversify. And usually, that means buying up media companies. And we've seen that over and over and over again. Rupert Murdoch, a few years back, became the laughingstock when he bought MySpace. And just after MySpace tumbled, Facebook came along, right? So, but he was diversifying. He was already, a big personality in the media with his ownership of, some of the other media companies. But he moved into new media and got into MySpace. And then, as you mentioned, Jeff Bezos, he bought a newspaper. And so this is very common. So there could be other reasons that he wants to buy and own Twitter.
That's a good point about Murdoch buying MySpace. I just did a quick search. Bought it in 2005 for $580 million.
And then sold it a few years later for much less.
Yeah, let's see. Bought MySpace in 2006, signed a $900 million deal to sell ads. Oh, Google signed a $900 million to sell ads on MySpace. By 2007, it had 300 million users and was being valued at 12 billion before it went downhill. So even though that was 15 years ago, what was that price on there? It was 580 million versus $44 billion.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just wild. Yeah, there's definitely multiple, I think, motivations here. Musk says it's not about making money. That's nonsense. He's got to make money with it. He's got to have a business model. I listened to an interview today where the commentator was talking about the idea of more private digital social media, which are things like you see through Discord, Telegram. I use Slack for auto conversion and for the podcast, and as you know, allow premium members access to the Slack. And it's funny because I see tremendous value there for smaller groups of people, whether it's hundreds or thousands or even tens of thousands, to have more of a private space. To me, the public space, the public space is necessary, but which is, I would say, would be Twitter. I cannot imagine that Twitter, the public aspect of Twitter, ever going away.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. To me, that's the heart and soul of what Twitter is.
Yeah. No, I think there's room for both public spaces and private spaces. And typically, if you're trying to build a company, if you're selling a product, you're selling a service, and you want to move people into your funnel, your sales funnel, make them customers, then you want to take a public conversation private, whether that's phone, Slack, Discord, Twitter DM, whatever the case, you want to move them into a private space where you can get them alone and talk to them about your product or service. And so that's a natural progression.
Well, you have obviously an interest and some play in both cryptocurrency and social media. I'm going to bring up your website in a second here, but why don't you give us a little overview of your new book, Cryptosocial: How Cryptocurrencies Are Changing Social Media. Why don't you give us the little overview there?
Yeah, good. Well, first off, I noticed I need to change that coming soon on my website.
Right.
The book has been published, so it's on Amazon. So what we got going on here is a few years ago, around 2006, I was doing some research for a client and came across this website called Steemit. And it was a website, a social media, social blogging website that paid users for posting to it. And they paid users in cryptocurrency. The website had its own cryptocurrency. It's still around. So they pay in Steem and Steem dollars. And I started playing around on this website and was really intrigued by the idea. A couple of years later, I noticed that there were other sites popping up similar to that, each with its own little take on it, but all of them focused on decentralizing social media in some way or incorporating cryptocurrencies so that users could earn crypto while posting to their platforms. I started playing around on some of them and decided I'd write a book about it.
And how long ago did you start playing around with Steemit, which you see I have up here on the screen?
Yeah, I started on Steemit in 2018, and I played around on it for about a year and a half. I started discovering other sites and decided to play around on some of them. And here we are a few years later, about 4 years later, I guess, and publishing my book.
Now, you see I'm here on Steemit, and I'm just looking at, I'm not logged in. It's just all posts, and there you can see many different languages.
Yeah, it's worldwide. So I wish there was a way you could filter out if you didn't want to see English or whatever, but or if you just wanted English language. But Steemit isn't that sophisticated, and you would think that being the first such website to launch with a native cryptocurrency, that they might have made some developments along the way. It pretty much looks the same way it did 5 years ago. But there are some interesting things on there. A lot of interesting development back in 2020. Steemit had a controversy when it was purchased by Justin's son, who co-founded who founded Tron, the Tron blockchain. And when that happened, some of the witnesses forked off of Steemit and started Hive. And so if you go to Hive, it's hive.blog, then it looks a little bit like Steemit, a little bit more developed. And a lot of the old Steemit people that were there when I was there are now at Hive.
Yeah, it does look very similar, like you said.
Yeah, so it looks practically the same. There are some subtle differences in the way it operates, but for the most part, since it forked off of Steemit, it's built on the same code.
Now, do you know, see this dollar sign here? Do you know what pending payout amount? So this is how much the poster is potentially going to be paid for that micro post. Is that what that means, you think?
Yeah, and what happens if you look over to the side, there's this 34 votes. If you click on the down arrow, you can see some of those voters. So there's one voter that voted $163. And that's a nice upvote. And so the way these two sites work, Steemit and Hive, is you have resource credits, and the resource credits allow you to post on the website. The more resource credits you have, the more you can post in a shorter period of time. But because it costs in resources to be able to post to these websites, you have to earn your way sort of to the top. And so the way you do that is by posting more and getting more upvotes. And so when a whale, a large person on the site, votes for you, uh, because they have a lot of resource credits and they have more staked cryptocurrency on that website, they have more influence on that website. And so as you build your audience and you get more credibility on the site and you earn more, then the more that you earn, the more you can stake, and the more you stake, the more influence you can have on that blockchain. And that's why some people can vote you up $100 because they have a lot of influence on that blockchain.
Cool. So I love the idea. You know, I've tried to put the case out there like, look, folks, if you're using something for free, you are the product and you're not really in control of the ramifications.
Yeah.
Now, you could argue that it works when you are paying for it. I think a good example would be your cell phone carrier. So whether it's Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, whatever your cell phone carrier is, you're paying a fee for access to the network, right?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
you have the autonomy to call who you want, text who you want, and browse the web and use the apps that you want to use. You have the autonomy. The reality is everything you're doing on that phone is completely tracked. Every call, every text message, it's all tracked. And in the license agreements, you are consenting for these corporations to use that data for improvements and enhancements and creating a better product and a better user experience. I don't really know the fine print of how you're protected from the corporations for, let's say, inappropriately using that information. There's ramifications there. So it's not cut and dry to say because you're paying for it, the company's not abusing or misusing the information.
That's correct.
But I do think that it sets a better precedent, like you were saying, is you have to earn your way to be more of an influencer on that crypto social platform. And there's a cost to playing, and you're also compensated and rewarded through compensation
Yeah.
as well. How would you distinguish the difference between a model like crypto social media where, you kind of pay as you play, if you will, but you also can get paid, versus Twitter and Facebook where it's free and, they have to monetize your activity and your behavior on their own?
Yeah, there's a world of difference. On Twitter and Facebook, any of the legacy social media platforms, you have free access, but you have to give something up to, usually you have to join, give them an email address, for instance. Okay. Even if all you do is give a name and an email to sign up, you're still giving up something of value to join. In this case, your personal data. And what do you get out of that? Well, you get the privilege of making a fool of yourself by posting all the things that you post on there, your cat memes, pictures of your food or whatever, but you don't get paid for that. Whereas they will sell advertising that will run alongside your content, and they will earn the revenues from that, and they will not share that with you. They also will sell your data to other companies, and we've seen that happen. And they make billions of dollars selling personal data of their users, and they don't share that money with the users. What a lot of these crypto social platforms are doing is they're saying, okay, well, that's wrong. We have a philosophical disagreement with that whole business model. So what we promise you is you show up, you earn based on your content. Okay. And there are different models of earning. Sometimes it's tip based, where readers will pay you a tip, or as in the case of Publish 0x, it's a tip, but they click a button to say, I want to tip you 80% or 90% or whatever, and then give myself the other 10 or 20%. So it's not coming out of my pocket. It's just generated on the blockchain when we do that transaction. In other cases, the model is based on, like on Hive and Steemit, just you creating content and other users upvoting your content. So there are different models of doing it, but you have the ability to earn. And they will tell you, most of them will say, well, we will not sell your data. We're not going to sell your data. We're fundamentally against doing that. And many of them don't even collect your data. So Hive doesn't require an email address, for instance, to join it. And so, you might pay $3 to join in a cryptocurrency, depending on how you sign up. They have different ways for you to sign up because it's decentralized. But it's a very small price to pay for the potential gain.
There's two scenarios I want to bring up, and curious on your opinion on if, and if so, how Cryptosocial might keep things like this from happening. So one would be in the case of Mark Zuckerberg. Like you said, the CEO of Facebook, like you said, you're a free user, so they have the right to monetize your data however they see fit, really.
Yeah.
They kind of have to disclose that, but that lines the pockets of the stakeholders, if you will.
Yeah.
And it came out that Zuckerberg put $420 million into very select, specific voting precincts to help push for more Democratic votes during the election. He did nothing illegal. What he did was legal, but
Yeah.
I just feel like if you're a Facebook user, and I'm not making this political, but it's kind of like owning stock in companies that have values or investments that don't align with your values.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, hey, look, people, if you are a conservative, for example, and your political interests are in, say, Republican conservative, what do you say, tenets, right?
Yeah.
Well, your use of Facebook is perpetuating your opposition because the CEO is going to use the money he makes, to do what he wants.
Yeah.
So, that's one scenario. Are the people behind Cryptosocial like Hive.blog? Like, I mean, just because it's a different paid model, that doesn't keep the same thing from happening in that scenario, does it?
Well, first off, Hive doesn't have a single owner. So that's one thing that makes it different than Facebook. The controversy that I mentioned earlier about Steemit and Hive, the way Steemit was set up is it had a foundation. It had a centralized entity that had pre-mined or ninja mined some of the cryptocurrency before launch. And they did that under the guise of saying, well, we want to use that money for development. Even though 5 years later, there hadn't been a whole lot of development.
Yeah.
But when Justin Sun bought the blockchain, bought the company, he had access to that money. And that freaked the witnesses out. And what they did was they forked the blockchain, and Justin Sun imposed his own witnesses on the blockchain. So it was a huge, huge controversy. So corruption is not, I don't think, endemic to the Web 2.0 version of the web. I think it's intrinsic to human nature.
Right.
We, as a species, we don't have a real good track record when it comes to, morality. And so, we're always in it for ourselves. Well, what decentralization tries to do is level out the playing field so that you and I don't have to trust each other in order to cooperate on making the ecosystem better. And Hive is built on that premise. When the Hive witnesses broke off from Steemit, they didn't set up a foundation for Hive and say, we're going to mine cryptocurrency and we're going to do the same thing Steemit did. They broke away because they had fundamental philosophical differences with the new owner of the blockchain. So it's totally decentralized, and I think you'll find there are different ways or different means of approaching blockchain development in this space. Some are good, some are not so good, some are better than others. But from the ones that I've seen, the ones that operate in a decentralized manner really have more of a focus on making everyone equal in terms of access to the platform. And that's a very different model than what you see on the Web 2.0 properties.
Yeah, I think you have private organizations, you have public companies. So Facebook's public, Twitter's going to be private, obviously. And then you have open source.
Yeah.
So WordPress is, Linux, those are open source operating systems, different types of operating systems. WordPress is a content management system. Linux is a computer operating system, but you never hear controversies and corruptions within those, businesses and communities. And I shouldn't say businesses, but within those platforms, you don't hear about that. So, me personally, I'm more of an advocate for open source versus private or public.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of open source, and you're right. Typically, what happens is if somebody has a difference in opinion or philosophical outlook from the creator of an open source system, if they don't want to align with that individual, they can just take the code and go create their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what open source is built on. And that's what the Hive people did with Steemit. It was open source code. Anyone can take it. There have been, I don't know how many, countless Steemit clones. You can go, I mentioned some of them in my book, and just look at them, and they all look like Steemit. They have a different name. They're on a different domain name, but they look like Steemit.
So Steemit Steemit's kind of the original, as far as you can tell. Okay.
Yeah. There were a couple of other cryptosocial platforms that launched before Steemit, but they didn't have a cryptocurrency yet. The cryptocurrency came later. So Steemit was the first one to launch with a cryptocurrency.
I want to pick your brain about some of the Biden administration's push on crypto. But real quick, folks, we're talking about Steemit. We're talking about Hive. We're talking about crypto social media. If you go to author.alantaylor.com, which I'm linking to from today's article about the show, you'll see a link there to get a list of over 80 crypto social platforms and protocols absolutely free by signing up there. So again, you can get that list. And maybe I'll take this moment now just to kind of plug. If you go to autoconversion.net, look under masterminds. We've now officially launched our new Blockchain Crypto Pros mastermind group. And our masterminds are unique in the sense that they're multifaceted. And Alan and I have partnered for the launch of this. And basically, you can sign up free for this new mastermind program, and you will get our free crypto NFT starter kit. And in that starter kit, it's just a PDF that you'll get for free when you sign up, is a link to the same list that I just mentioned on Alan's website. So you can get that list as well just by going to autoconversion.net/grow and then sign up for the Blockchain Crypto Pros Mastermind group. When you do, you'll receive that starter kit, which includes that list. And you'll also receive information about the new mastermind program, which offers both free and premium levels. And if you upgrade to our premium level for only $50, you'll get our blockchain cryptocurrency starter guide, which will teach you how to get started in crypto, minting NFTs, staking, and what Alan and I are talking about, crypto social media. Let me swing over to announcement about, and this isn't new. This isn't like brand new. This came out late February, early March. But Biden signed the executive order calling on the government to examine the risks and benefits of cryptocurrencies. And I mentioned the 6 key areas that it's going to focus on: consumer protection, financial stability, illicit activity, U.S. competitiveness, and then financial inclusion and responsible innovation. Do you have any immediate thoughts or insights related to this, Alan, related to this executive order?
Yeah, well, I've seen it coming for a long time. I've been ever since I've been watching the crypto space. I've been saying regulation is going to hit this new area of, especially since decentralized finance. You know, all these DeFi products and that have been popping up. Regulators are going to start paying attention, and as we've seen the last few years, they have started paying more and more and more attention. The question all along really has been which agencies are going to be the regulatory agencies. And I think they're still hashing that out. And that's a part of what this executive order is for. It's to direct these federal agencies, because they all fall under the executive branch of the government, over which Joe Biden presides. And he's essentially saying, you guys need to figure out who's going to regulate what and to what extent, and let's get that ball rolling. And that's essentially what this is all about.
Yeah, and it's good. There does need to be some level of regulation. That's inevitable as technologies evolve, as businesses as grow. I mean, I even reported on that hack on the Ronin network. I'm not a gamer, so I don't really know these networks too well, but $620 million in hacked and stolen. That affects the users.
Yeah.
And there's no, like you said, no FDIC to protect you. And it's that way now. I mean, you can have thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on an exchange like Coinbase, which to me is a centralized blockchain. It's not Coinbase isn't a blockchain, but it's an exchange.
Exchange, yeah.
It's an exchange, and it's a public company. But as we saw, and this kind of led to my other world case scenario I wanted to bring up to you. If you recall, in back in February, when the truckers in Canada protested against the government and mandates, and they used GoFundMe to raise funds for the protesters. And 2 things came out of that. One was GoFundMe decided, hey, we don't ideologically support your protest, so we're going to freeze your funds.
Yeah.
We're just going to freeze them.
Centralization.
Yeah, centralization. And then, to make matters worse, the Canadian government said, hey, now we're going to freeze your assets and penalize you and freeze your assets if you've contributed to those. So, that is the problem, obviously, with centralization. Do you think the world would be a better place if there were ways around that to protect yourself? I mean, there are now with blockchain.
I do. I've said all along, I think there are use cases for centralization. When I go to McDonald's and order a Big Mac, I would hate to think that I'm going to wait 3 hours to get my Big Mac because they had to order the bread from over here and they had to go over here and get the meat, and that guy across the street's responsible for the lettuce. That's just inefficient. So centralization has its benefits. They're a lot of the old-fashioned business model of having a centralized top-down hierarchy is more efficient than decentralization. That's simply a built-in feature. But decentralization also has its uses, and one of those cases. So if GoFundMe, for instance, was decentralized and I could go and raise money for my cause, whatever that cause might be, and other people on that system didn't like what my cause was. They didn't ideologically support it, don't agree with it. They couldn't freeze my funds. They might, say, they might send a tweet out and say, well, I don't like you. Okay, great. That's fine. You have freedom of speech. Okay. You can say all day long you don't like what I'm doing.
Just not on
But
Twitter.
the moment you freeze my funds, now you're diminishing my rights at that point, and you're infringing upon my right. And I don't think, and traditionally we have been, here in America at least, we have been very much on guard against the government doing that. We have not been paying attention to how corporations and large centralized organizations do that. And now I think we have to be.
That is such a crucial talking point, Alan. I remember many years ago, a good friend of mine, like Facebook was kind of just becoming a thing. Google was already the big daddy that it was becoming. And I remember he said, if the government wants your private information, or requires this and requires that, or wants to do this and do that, everyone will go in an uproar. They're like, government can't do that. But if you put Apple or Google or Facebook's name on it, people will just become an open book and just give away everything that they have. And it's very, very true. We single-handedly, as users, collectively, have created these technocratic, non-elected, non-diplomatic, technocratic authorities that literally control our experience, our life experience in the world today. I don't think people realize it to that extent.
Yeah, and in many ways, it's more dangerous than anything that our government would do to us. And so,
because they're not elected, I think that's
they're
what
not
we
elected.
forget.
You're right.
The importance of democracy in this case.
And we're giving them our personal data, and pretty much essentially saying, do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
It's a blank check, and they're selling it, and you have data breaches where personal data is being compromised, and you just don't know whose hands that's going to fall into.
Yeah. And to be clear, we got to wrap this up because we're out of time here, but fortunately we're not a big centralized media entity, so we can break the rules a little bit. But a lot of times people think, oh, my data is already shared. It's like, my name, my address, like that stuff's all public, but that's not the data that's important. What's valuable, folks, about your privacy is your predictive nature. That's what's valuable. It's giving corporations and even governments now the ability to capitalize monetarily or through just power, civic power itself, based off of your predictive behavior. That's what's really valuable. It's not things like that's available everywhere, your name, your address, and all that stuff. I've read that sponsor clip for Smart Pixel. They have over 300 data points available to you. It's all public information. In fact, just last week, a court dismissed a case against scrapers, big national scrapers that crawl the web and scrape data and then monetize that. They said there's nothing illegal about that. You can do it because it's public information.
Right.
But it's the predictive information that the algorithms are able to figure out. I'm a big YouTube user.
Yeah.
And I go on my TV, and the very first video selections are determined by YouTube's algorithm. That's correct. I got to say, 9.5 times out of 10, the very first video that it's presenting for me at the very top left, I cannot resist watching it. That's how well the algorithm knows. It's like, he's going to watch this.
That's correct. Yeah. And, some people like that. I got into a debate with a guy on one of the Cryptosocial websites, where he was defending Facebook on that grounds. He likes being able to just show up, and Facebook knows what he's interested in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not real comfortable with that myself because, some things I might like about Facebook, but what I don't like about Facebook is the algorithm that determines what shows up on my news feed. Why can't I determine what shows up on my news feed?
Yeah. And I would even argue it's not so much about the benefits that you have a problem with, that we would have a problem. It's the unintended consequences that we might not know about. That's the real
Absolutely.
problem.
Yeah. And I discuss all of that in Cryptosocial. I actually go through some of the controversies in social media history, the data breaches and all of these things that we're talking about, the unintended consequences and the invisible influence and all of these things that are negative that people may not even be thinking about while they're using these platforms.
Well, good. I've started reading it. I haven't finished it, but I look forward to getting into some of these really important subject matters that you talk about. So congratulations on the book. And, thanks for popping up here. Alan Taylor, everybody, author of Cryptosocial, How Cryptocurrencies Are Changing Social Media. And you can get that by going to, you can find it on Amazon. I had it up here on Barnes and Noble. You can go to Alan's website, authoralantaylor.com. And, why don't I add this? I'd mentioned about the new blockchain crypto pros mastermind group, where you can not only get for free Alan's list of 80 plus crypto social media platforms and protocols, but when you sign up and you'll get our free starter kit, there'll be a link for that in there. There'll also be a link to get our blockchain crypto starter guide, which walks you through a whole variety of advanced things such as crypto social media. And in the guide is an affiliate link to Alan's book on Amazon. If you buy it with our link, then we'll give you a third month free of the mastermind program. The initial purchase is $50. You can sign up free. You can upgrade for $50. You get 2 months of our support service. Alan and I are co-hosting a clubhouse room every month, and we do a different lesson within the starter guide, and we go through that, and we welcome folks. Anyone on Clubhouse can join us there. And then we're also holding a roundtable where we can help you get started in different areas such as crypto social media. Maybe you have some projects you're working on, and we're developing a private digital community around cryptocurrency. It's designed for both novices and enthusiasts, and you can benefit from that. So definitely check that out. Hey, Alan, before you go, you mentioned Steemit. Hive seems like kind of the better version of Steemit for people like myself that are, haven't really gotten into crypto social but are interested. Where would you recommend be a good starting place?
I think probably Hive is a good place, but I think it's a little overwhelming for new people. I would recommend going to Publish Xerox, which is all about cryptocurrency. Most of the content there is about cryptocurrency, and you can read it and you can join. It's real easy to join. You can join by email. You don't need a big cryptographic key to like you do on some of the other platforms. But the benefit there is if you're new to cryptocurrencies, if you're new to all of this, you can learn about that on Publish as you read the content, and you can click the button at the end of each article, that the ones that you like, and tip the article, the person that wrote that article. And the beauty of it is you also get a portion of that tip just for reading. And so you can see how cryptocurrencies work and how earn a few while you're reading about and learning about cryptocurrency. So Publish is a great place to start.
What's the website? Because I heard you say Xerox, Publish Xerox, but what's the website?
Yeah, it's publish0x.com.
Oh, let's try that. Publish zerox.com. Let's see that.
And they actually pronounce that publish, but it's got a 0 and an X on the end. And so
Yeah, I'm
there
bringing
you
it up
go.
right now.
Yeah, and so you can see right there where all the articles are about cryptocurrency in some way. Splinterlands, one of the biggest decentralized gaming, socialized games on the internet. They talk about Twitter and Elon Musk and all that. So, yeah, but you can see down in the right corner of each of these articles, there's a dollar amount, and so that's how much those articles have earned at currently.
Very, very cool. And this is a direction, folks, that I've been pushing for auto conversion, our company behind the podcast here. So I just put a link to that in the public chat, public chat for the video. So that's up there.
Yeah, and if you sign up, look for me either as Alan Taylor or Cryptocracy. My newsletter I publish on publish as Cryptocracy, and my profile name is Alan Taylor, and that's pretty typical of how I do things on these social media websites. You'll either find me as Alan Taylor or Cryptocracy.
Very interesting. I'm noticing, because I'm not logged in, right, that I can't do a search. When you log in, maybe it's Explore. Are you able to search?
Yeah, I didn't know you couldn't do that if you weren't logged in, but
Yeah.
that's good to know. Yeah, and so you can see there are other categories there: music, photography, art. So you can publish in those categories. My experience is the crypto articles pay out a little bit more, but you can publish in other you don't have to just publish crypto. So if you wanted to write about other things, if you wanted to write about art or photography or travel or whatever, they have those categories.
Okay. Very cool. Do you have an idea of how many users might be on this platform?
Oh, I wish I did. It is, I think, one of the more popular ones, but I couldn't give you a number off the top of my head what their usage is. They might have a page on their website. Some of them publish their user statistics, and some of them don't. And I don't remember if Publish does or not. But you may be able to search for that once you join. It's real easy to join. They do approve you, so it is centralized. They have to approve you, and they ask you questions. What are you going to use it for, and all that. So, so that part is centralized. But once you get on there, you can write about whatever. So as long as it's legal and ethical and all that. But yeah, if you go to the list of 80 cryptosocial platforms that you just mentioned, there are quite a few on there. Some of them are very niche, and so if you're travel oriented, there are some that are focused on travel. If you are a video producer or you do a lot of videos, there are some that are focused only on videos, and so you can find what you're looking for.
Cool. Well, Alan, thanks so much for coming up and sharing this. Learn a lot just from conversations, and realize there's a heck of a lot more to learn still in this space.
Yeah, there surely is, and I'm learning more all the time.
All right, Alan Taylor, everybody, go to authoralantaylor.com to check out his new book and get his free list. And Alan, thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll let Alan go. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up. I do apologize for some of the technical obstacles I've been facing, but just as a final reminder, I'm going to share this tab again. Go to autoconversion.net/grow and look for Blockchain Crypto Pros. And you can sign up free for our new mastermind program that I mentioned. You'll get our crypto NFT starter kit, which is a resource that we provide. It includes instructions for setting up accounts with Coinbase and crypto.com. You also receive free cryptocurrency when using our affiliate links, and it provides an overview of our blockchain crypto starter guide, which is a 3-day do-it-yourself workshop that we offer. And the whole program, the whole mastermind program includes both a monthly clubhouse and a monthly roundtable spaced 2 weeks apart from one another. I was not sharing my screen that whole time. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right. Well, I am Ryan Girardi. Thanks again for being here today, whether you're on the live show or the replay. This is a recording session, a live recording session before a live studio audience for the Auto Converse podcast, which is a whole different listening experience. We've been on about a 1-month hiatus, but we're about to get back to our weekly podcast programming. So be sure to search for Auto Converse, all one word, in your preferred podcast app. All right. Enjoy the rest of your hump day. Have a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. And folks, we'll see you next time around in about a month. See ya.